The Kansas City Chiefs are using their hard-earned bye week to get ready for the divisional playoff round, while the rest of the AFC and the rest of the NFL, sans Detroit, is slugging it out this weekend in the wild card round. But we go mathematical this week because we present to you the equation this week on Defending the Kingdom of E squared equals question mark as we try to solve the unknown variable. It's all brought to you by Ticketmaster. Great to find them, know them, use them for the playoffs. A little bit of room, slings it sidearm into the end zone. Touchdown, Kansas City. Hi, everyone. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, along with senior team reporter Matt McMullen, who survived the weekend in Denver with 3 hours on the plane on the tarmac.
So did you, right? I mean, it wasn't that bad, though. We had unlimited food and unlimited movies. I think people were feeling kind of bad for us. It's like, it could be a lot worse. We're okay.
You know, and then, gosh, first time in 31 years to not be able to get home. So that was a new experience. The other one, the 9 hours we had on the plane, on the tarmac going to Detroit one year where there weren't unlimited movies, there was one that we just watched over and over again.
What year was that?
2007 or 8. It's a Herm Edwards year. I remember Jackie Battle was our RB1, and Detroit beat us like 49,000 to 1.
Did Calvin Johnson have like 5 touchdowns?
Yeah, he did. He was just there throwing fades to him. We got to the hotel, I don't know, 1 or 2 o'clock. We were fresh as a daisy. It was great. So, yeah.
Well, for those that don't know how our travel schedule works, we normally leave right after the game no matter what. Even if it's Sunday Night Football on the East Coast, we get on the plane, we fly home, get home late. Because of the weather in Kansas City, we couldn't do it. And it was a first for me where people would ask me, like, do you think you're coming home? And I'm like, yeah, we always do no matter what. And couldn't come home because of the conditions in Kansas City and stayed an extra night in Denver. It was weird, but, yeah, we made it back. Felt like we were there a long time compared
to
normal.
About a week. I like what you said when we landed. Like, have we been gone like a week?
Felt like
it. Yeah. But now we are in the bye week mode, but actually it's kind of the playoff preparation mode. Being around Andy Reid and this football team, there is no wasted time. We try to tell you that all throughout the year, including this week. So the players had some midweek time off, but it's now scurrying to get ready for any of the 4 possibilities to play in the divisional playoff round. But this episode, you know, what we like to do on Defending the Kingdom is kind of take you places which you don't normally go. We're going to jump into some of the fun facts about the experience of this 2024 Chiefs team going into January of 25 in the playoffs, and then some kind of increased energy for this divisional playoff round in specific, and just clue you in why this game will be as exciting for some guys on this roster as any game they've ever played in the National Football League, including at least one guy that will be going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. All right. So with all that set up, it's E squared equal question mark. You were great in mathematics.
No, I was
Blue
not.
Valley
I
North.
was horrendous in mathematics. I like stats, like sports stats, but anything else when it comes to math, I'm terrible at.
I was okay in algebra. I liked it. And I actually like business stats. Like, I don't know why, but geometry, rough. But we're trying
Trigonometry?
I actually passed on that one.
Okay.
Had enough. But we are looking to solve the unknown variable here of E squared equals question mark. But before we do that, you've checked all the algorithms, because we're going to jump into our Defending the Kingdom spaceship and go around the world and check in.
Let's do it. I have a ton today. We had one of our most listened to episodes ever last week. Just on YouTube alone, we had like 50,000 listens. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
And by the way, we'll stand by everything we said. Even though it was a 38-0 loss to the Broncos, we'll stand there and do it again. We've seen too many instances of that thing going the other way. So
yeah, I mean, it's like Coach Reid said after the game, the result is what it is, but it was a great chance for players to go out there and to play and show what they can do in an individual sense. And who knows when the benefit of that will happen. But like we talked about in last week's episode, we didn't know what the benefits of that Week 18 game against the Chargers were going to be until Chamari had to step in against the Bills a few weeks later, and almost a full year later when we saw Joe Thuney at left tackle and Mike Caliendo at left guard. Who knows what's going to happen here over the next couple of weeks or maybe even a year or two down the road. But there are things that we can take out of that game. Maybe we don't know what they are just yet, but at some point we'll look back at that game, I think, and say that was important, even though we lost 38-0. The only bummer about
Nico Remigio comes to mind, because that one catch, the 20-some-plus yard catch was big. And then I thought Jaden Hicks, for the most part. We talked about him being highlighted in more of a role, kind of like the Justin Reed role. I thought there's something that could be extracted for that down
for
the line.
sure. There's individual performances that will help this team down the road. Just a few bummers in terms of the season-long and years-long stats that we love to keep. Like, we allowed more than 30 points for the first time since Super Bowl 57. That was 37 games ago. We only allowed 30 to the Bills. So more than 30 points. It's been all the way to the Chiefs and Eagles Super Bowl. Been a very long time. And unfortunately, in the scope of history, it'll be forgotten that the starters didn't play. I was joking around with a few of my coworkers the other day that someone might look back at this team and hopefully we three-peat and everything, and they'll look at the Week 18 game and go, what happened? What in the world happened? It's like, well, the starters didn't play. But
well, and I do an interview with Art Haynes. Art Haynes is on the studio desk with the network, and Art's going, worst loss to the Broncos ever. I'm going, Art, if you're going to put any historical context on that game, don't. All right, just put an asterisk by it and then throw it away. But, yeah, you're right.
I think I saw smoke coming out of your ears during that.
I was not. You heard me. I was not happy.
But it is what it is. It's football. You move on. Good for the Broncos. They're going to make the playoffs here for the first time in a very long time. And we are going to the divisional round once again. How many years in a row is it now? It's every year since 2018, right?
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, again, we talk about perspective a lot on this podcast. Can't lose sight of it, that going to the divisional round this many years in a row is remarkable. And to have this bye, it's like winning a game this weekend. It's like the Chiefs went out there and played somebody this weekend, and they won, and we're moving on, and there were no injuries. I mean, it's really a great situation to be in. So now just got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, lost in 2017 in the wild card to the Titans. Otherwise, 2016 was a loss in the divisional playoff round to the Steelers, the hold, Carl Cheffers, not that I remember. And then 2015 won the wild card game and lost in the divisional playoff round at New England. So you can look at this thing all the way back to 2015, only 1 year. The Chiefs have not been in the divisional playoff round.
I remember back in 2015, my dad and I, when I graduated college, he wanted to surprise me with a huge grand trip. And he'd always wanted to go to South America. So him and I went to South America for a month, just bouncing around at little hotels and everything for a month in South America. And it was during that 2015 playoff run. And I was trying to find a place to watch the Chiefs and Texans game in Buenos Aires. And I'm like, I'm not going to miss this. Like, I think the Chiefs might win a playoff game for the first time that I can remember. I'm not going to miss it. I found the one place in Buenos Aires that was showing an NFL game, because this is kind of before the NFL exploded internationally. And I found this one little place. And
Buenos Aires is not small.
It's huge.
So how did you
gigantic.
find this place?
Just online, just scouring the internet.
We have the NFL.
Yeah, we have the NFL. And I went to it, and it was cool. It was kind of like a little microcosm of what you normally see at international games, where it was a bunch of people from different places, all wearing jerseys of different teams, sitting down to watch the Chiefs and Texans play. And they just wanted to talk about American football and everything, and it was super cool. And now to see how the league has grown overseas in the years since, I mean, it's pretty awesome. But anyway, I digress. We have a lot
glorious 30-0 win, I should say.
Oh, so
glorious.
Awesome.
It was so awesome.
It's so awesome. And
first for the kid in 21 years. You don't think I revel in that game. Yes.
That's why we appreciate every single one of these.
Amen.
No matter what. I remember that feeling, what it felt like just as a fan to watch the Chiefs win a playoff game. Mm-hmm. And even though we're going to talk about on our podcast all the experience our guys have in the playoffs, all these wins that they've had, you never take them for granted, because you never know when it's going to end.
And you'll never forget it, because people are just ripping off Portuguese at the one bar in Buenos Aires that's showing NFL football. That just adds to it.
Cool experience.
Way cool.
And I was jumping up and down and going crazy, and I think they were kind of horrified. But when Niall takes that kickoff back, I can't contain myself. Okay, anyway, around the world, I have a bunch.
The big red coach is just taken to across the river for the first time,
20-year
big red coach with a big red mustache and the big red windbreaker. Oh, yeah.
Across the river. It was so good.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, bunch today. If you want to skip ahead, you can. We're going to do this for a little bit now. Shout out to Mandy from Milford, Delaware. She made it out to Kansas City for the Chiefs and Eagles game last year with her daughter-in-law and her daughter-in-law's sister, who are both Eagles fans. Yep. And that game remains kind of a steering wheel pounder for me, but still a good experience, hopefully, for Mandy. Thanks for listening to the podcast.
MBS.
Rob is listening in Massachusetts. Rick spent some of his childhood in Haviland, Kansas?
Haviland, home of the Dragons.
Okay, that was my question for you. Was home of the Dragons.
The Dragons, but you know who's from there, whose father is from there, and you saw him. Because Wade, who plays for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Dean Wade, yeah.
Dean Wade, his dad grew up in Haviland. His mom grew up in Haviland.
Huh. Okay.
So Dean Wade, Haviland Dragons.
That's
You
right.
saw him.
I thought it sounded familiar. You told me this. That's
Yeah,
right.
The Dragons.
And the Dragons fall in the category of so ridiculous, we're okay with it. I'm okay with the Haviland Dragons.
Sure.
Daniel is in Seymour, Missouri. Noah is from Jefferson City and went to Capital City High School, home of the...
Don't know. Senators should be. If they're
So
not.
that would be good. This is okay, and this fits into one of our 3 buckets where it's acceptable.
They're the Jeff City Jays. That's the legendary school. Then there's Helix. Blair Oaks isn't far away, but
This is Capital City High School.
What's their name?
The Cavaliers. Triple alliteration.
We just mentioned Cavaliers and Wade.
We did.
Dean
You're right.
Wade.
What are the odds of that?
Yeah.
But I'm okay
Why
with
aren't you the
this.
Senators or the Governors? Stop
It's
it.
triple alliteration, though. I'm okay with it. Capital City Cavaliers. Shout out to Joe in Overland Park. Leo is in Allentown, Pennsylvania. This is a cool one. So Abdu is in Senegal, West Africa. Been a fan since 2018 when he first started watching the NFL. You joined at the right time, Abdu. But get this. He worked with the Marines as an interpreter, and they convinced him to watch American football. And he's like, all right, fine, I'll do it. And he started watching the Chiefs in 2018, and he's like, this is the greatest thing ever. So he's part of Chiefs Kingdom in Senegal. So shout out to you, Abdu. We have a listener in Wisconsin. Parker is in Salt Lake City and wanted to shout out his friend Rusty, the biggest Chiefs fan he knows. We have a listener in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, specifically the Homeland Grocery Store in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Paul is in Lakeland, Florida. Scott is in Sedalia. Rick is in Detroit. Junior is in Australia. Ryan is in Cole Camp, Missouri. You ever been to Cole Camp?
I have.
Where is it?
Near the lake. It's
Oh.
actually near, when you say the lake, Lake of the Ozarks. But, yeah, Cole Camp's near there. They've got a big German festival, I think. Get a lot of sauerkraut and Wurst.
Okay.
So
Sounds kind of good. Larry is in Cassville, Missouri. You know where that is?
Yeah, I do, but I'm trying to think of it. Was it near Springfield? Close, maybe? No?
Let us know, Larry.
No, I know. It would be embarrassing. I'll figure it out.
Casey is in West Plains, Missouri.
The Zizzers. That's one of my favorite nicknames.
The Zizzers?
The West Plains Zizzers.
What's a Zizzer?
I don't know.
Oh, well, it's the West Plains mascot.
Sounds like something you crush in the summertime.
Kevin is from Chase County. Do you know where Chase County is?
In Kansas?
He didn't say
Is
where.
it
so I'm
Cottonwood
assuming.
Falls or Strong City? Because there's two cities 1 mile apart. In fact, there's a Chase County courthouse is a National Historic place. It's in the Flint Hills, yes. Chase County Bulldogs.
Okay, very cool.
Yep.
Christopher is from St. George, Utah. Bill is in DeLand,
Home
Florida.
of Utah Tech, I think.
Ooh, okay.
Isn't that Utah Tech? I think St. George used to be Dixie College that became Utah Tech.
Have to ask Callan. Remember Callan?
Callan.
Old PR intern.
He's a Utah Tech
Yep.
alum. Yeah.
DeLand, Florida. Is that right, do you think?
Stetson, home of the Stetson Hatters.
But it's DeLand?
DeLand.
DeLand,
yeah.
okay. So Bill lives in DeLand, Florida, but grew up in Trenton, Missouri with Coach Andy Hill.
Bulldogs, baby. Trenton Bulldogs.
But they were Andy Hill, who's
Yeah.
one of our special teams coaches, was
And
friends
Andy
with
Hill's
Bill.
wife
Yeah.
is from Trenton as well.
So
Sarah
they-
Big and Tall.
Bill said they'd play football on an empty lot when they were kids, and apparently Coach Hill was very fast and hard to catch.
Yeah.
So
Played
Coach
at
Hill
Mizzou,
is
wide receiver.
he is a treasure. He's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet and a great coach. So
Yes, he is.
shout out to Bill. Mikey is in Edgerton, Kansas. Went to North Platte High School.
In Nebraska. North Platte's in, or North Platte in Missouri.
For a second there, I was wondering if I wrote this down wrong.
No. There's North Platte, Missouri, which
Is that near-
Dearborn. Yeah, it's on the way to St. Joe to camp. You go by it every time. You go to St. Joe.
So maybe he went to North Platte and then moved to Edgerton.
Edgerton, which is the Gardner Edgerton Trailblazers, 6A champions.
Yeah.
So, yes. So, yeah, probably so.
My thought on Edgerton, what I always remember when I think of Edgerton, Kansas, is I went to Blue Valley North High School, and we were in the EKL, and we'd go out to play Gardner Edgerton, and it was like we're transporting ourselves to West Texas out there, and they had Bubba Starling at the time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Bubba ran for like 5,000 yards against us. It was something else.
Yeah.
Sean
Love you, but
is,
that's such a Blue Valley thing. Go to Ulysses and travel for a league game for 250 miles
yeah, I can't.
in western Kansas, and they're like, oh, my God, you're going to Gardner Edgerton? You go there for groceries. Come on.
Well, it was like 35 minutes. It's like, this is taking forever, Sean is in Marysville, Kansas, home of the...
Bulldogs.
There we go.
The Black Squirrel City.
Black Squirrel City.
Oh, they have black squirrels all over, like these black squirrel figurine things. Yeah, the Black Squirrel City.
Okay, interesting.
Famous.
Chris was born in Joplin, but now lives in Raymondville, Texas. Russell is from Talmadge, Kansas.
Talmadge, yep. Went to Chapman High School, I bet.
He sure did. Chapman High School, home of the
Fighting Irish.
Yes. I like that one.
Yep. There's like 15 towns. Nobody goes to Chapman from Chapman. It's town. This is a whole episode. We're going to burn it up but I went through the 15 towns that make up Chapman. It was the first consolidated school in the state of Kansas.
Really?
Yep.
Where is it?
Just west of Junction City. So where Fort Riley is, the Post. We've been on Post, right?
Yeah.
You just go another 10 minutes and there's Chapman.
Okay. Interesting.
But Talmadge is a ways from Chapman.
Fighting Irish.
That school district, you can go 50 miles for a prom date and be in the same school district.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, if you went from the northeast side down to the southwest side of that district, it would cover almost 60 miles.
A little bit different than the EKL.
Or Blue Valley.
Yeah, a little bit different.
Your 25-minute bus ride out to Gardner Edgerton. Oh, yeah. How am I going to get through that?
Patty is from Ewing, New Jersey. Made it to his first home game here in Kansas City earlier this year against the Broncos. His kids are Broncos fans. And they were there for that game and the block off, and good for you, Patty. Chris is in Durango, Colorado. Travis is from Weston, Oregon. Been a fan since 1992.
Cool.
Barry and Kim are in Okinawa, Japan.
Yes.
Been fans since the 60s. Originally from Odessa, Missouri, home of the...
Oh, man. Blanking out right there.
Let's go to one of your old reliables.
Oh. It's got to be Tigers then.
Close.
Help me.
Bulldogs.
No.
Yeah, Bulldogs.
Come on, Odessa. Come up with something better than that.
Let's go to Okinawa, though. I want to go to Japan.
Do a DTK from Okinawa.
I would love to do that. We'll just expense that one. Yeah. We have a listener in the Commonwealth of Veach, otherwise known as Pennsylvania. Very creative. Yeah.
Wow.
Jack is in Richmond, Virginia. Go Spiders.
Go Spiders.
Sean Barber. Thomas is from Denver. Al is from Raytown, graduate of Northwest Missouri State. We have a listener in South Africa. Almost done here. Tim is from Eastern Washington. Been a fan since the 60s when he did 10 games at Municipal Stadium. Very cool. James and Kim are from Montezuma, Kansas.
South Gray Rebels. Yeah, they go together with Ingalls to make – they're our power in 8-man.
If you're from Montezuma, Kansas, you have to be good at football.
Oh, you're good in football.
That just sounds like you're good at football.
The South Gray Rebs, baby. Don't even think about taking them on.
Lisa is from Henderson, Kentucky. Then lastly, I heard from Callie, who wanted to shout out her cousin, Caitlin. Caitlin's cancer is back, and she just started chemo a few weeks ago, actually the day before our game against the Texans. Caitlin is a huge Chiefs fan. Caitlin, we're thinking of you. We're rooting for you. Sorry this happened, but hopefully the Chiefs bring along some good vibes and some encouragement here over the next few weeks. But I just wanted to say hi to you, and we're thinking of you.
Yeah, prayers up, and also prayers for the folks in California. These fires are brutal. Coach is from L.A. We both have a lot of folks from L.A. Your sister lives out there.
I was texting her right before our episode. Luckily, it's not necessarily threatening exactly where she lives, but she sent me some photos. It's crazy. Have you seen the aerial photos?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. And anyway, prayers up.
Yeah.
Prayers up for our brothers and sisters in SoCal. Well, let's jump into a little bit of football because E squared equals question mark, and the first E is experience. I think people have lost track of how experienced and positive playoff experience the 2024 Chiefs will take in to next week's divisional playoff game. Let me start this way. People forget last year, the first back-to-back winner in 6,944 days. Put that on the play-by-play. But it was the youngest team of any of the 9 back-to-back Super Bowl champions in history to win back-to-back titles. The youngest team. So that leads in to the playoff experience, the positive playoff experience this roster has. I'll let you dig in a little bit of the offense. I'll give you some astounding numbers of the defense. But playoff experience, we know, isn't the end-all, be-all, but, man, is it helpful. And some of these guys, most of this team has had playoff success that thousands of NFL players, thousands of good NFL players never got to taste at all. And I'm reminded by a guy like Tony Gonzalez, one playoff win in 17 seasons. Chris Carter, I'm not sure, had one. But anyway, but this group is amazing. So I'll let you start offensively because there's some really cool numbers here. The first piece of the E squared here is experience and what the Chiefs are taking into next week's game.
Yeah, and I just add how remarkable it is that how often you have a team that is young that wins the Super Bowl. Normally, you have a team like the 2015 Broncos or the 2021 Rams where you just go all in. You bring in a bunch of veterans, players maybe playing their last couple of seasons. In the Broncos' case, Peyton Manning's last year. And you win the Super Bowl, and it's great. But then it's difficult because after that, the roster kind of craters. And we've seen that with the Broncos. I mean, them winning that game against us last week and making the playoffs was significant because, as you told me, it was the longest streak for any Super Bowl champion of not making the playoffs in NFL history. That kind of happens sometimes. With the Chiefs being as young as they've been over this championship run and being able to sustain it and go after the Super Bowl every single year because your players are young and your roster is young and still hungry is pretty remarkable. So can't lose sight of that. But this is interesting.
And let me tag that. Again, even if the Chiefs get to the Super Bowl, no team that's won back-to-back has ever gone to a chance for a three-peat, even made the Super Bowl. The closest, the 90 San Francisco 49ers that lost 15-13 to the Giants in the NFC Championship game. Other than that, none of the back-to-backs even made it to the championship game. And your point's really good because the 60s Packers, Lombardi goes on, he moves on, they get obliterated. Right? We can sit there and look now. The 70s Steelers are different. They won 2, year off, 1-2. But the 90s Cowboys, we could go back through all these back-to-backs, and they hit a wall.
Yeah.
Team's too old, coach leaves, regime changes, and they blow up. So what we're living here is really unique.
And it's a testament to Brett Veach.
Amen.
Because there are how many players from the 2019 Super Bowl are still on this team?
What do we say? 8, 7?
It's a
7,
small
8?
number. And they're impact players, but you have to refill the roster with young talent, and the league is designed in such a way where teams that win are not supposed to win consistently, because if you win the Super Bowl, you have the last pick in the first round of the draft. You're probably paying players a lot of money, so you don't have a lot of salary cap space. We talk about this on DTK all the time, that the league is designed for parity, and the Chiefs are the antithesis of parity because we win every single year and hopefully trying to win a third straight Super Bowl. I'll get to the offense. Sorry, I'm rambling here, but here's a kind of a cool note from Taylor Witt on Twitter. Taylor does some really good stuff. He calculated all of this. The Chiefs roster is combined for 15,969 playoff snaps. Easily the most of any team in the field this year. More than 6,000 ahead of second place Buffalo. And the gap between the Chiefs and Buffalo is wider than the gap between Buffalo and 13th place Green Bay. Almost every player on this roster has played or started a playoff game. That experience is important because when the lights are bright and things are a little bit faster and it's win or go home, just a little bit of a different game, and our guys have experience with it. None more than Patrick Mahomes, who has 18 career playoff starts under his belt. That's tied with Dan Marino and Drew Brees for the 9th most in NFL history. He's 29 years old. For context, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, C.J. Stroud, Justin Herbert, and Bo Nix, who's of course a rookie, have started 19 playoff games combined in their careers. Russell Wilson, to his credit, has started 16. But, I mean, Mahomes having 18 career playoff starts is crazy. He has 15 career playoff wins at quarterback as a starting quarterback. That's third most in NFL history. Tom Brady has 35. Joe Montana has 16. Patrick has 15. So if we can win this divisional round matchup, Patrick will tie Joe Montana for the most playoff wins by a starting quarterback of all time. And then Travis Kelce already has the most catches in NFL postseason history, and he has 342 yards behind Jerry Rice for most all time, and 3 touchdowns behind Rice for most all time. So this playoff run, for more reasons than one, could be historic, could be legendary, could be epic, and I'm so glad that we have these guys on our side. We've experienced in big games. And Patrick Mahomes, no one has ever done this before. I know Tom Brady has 35 wins. He played a long time, got a lot of playoff wins, a lot of Super Bowl wins. But to start a career like this is crazy. And as we'll talk about later, no one's hungrier for this one than Patrick.
No. And Kels, another one, he has 165 playoff receptions. That's the most in NFL history of any pass catcher. So, and the ones that you gave are pass catchers. We're not just tight ends.
No.
This includes Jerry Rice and everybody else that played in the postseason. What is crazy, the offensive skill guys, I'll throw in who are on this roster for the most part, 75-13. The offensive line gets your attention because the offensive line collectively, the 11 humans on this roster right now in the playoffs, are 44-6 in the playoffs. Now, those 6 losses include Joe Thuney's 3 that he had before he got here, okay, and then 1 actually from Marlon Tuipulotu when he was with the Eagles, when you look at it, and then 1 from Jawan Taylor when he was with the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're sifting. These guys have like 2 playoff losses as a Chief.
And that Juwan's was to us, right?
Yeah, and so many of these are to us.
Yeah.
So it's a good point because it gets really fun on the defensive side. So let's transition to the defense. So you get an idea. Playoff experience in many ways, unprecedented with the Kansas City Chiefs, at least this young of a roster, okay? Now, defensively, the DBs, collectively, of the 9 DBs that are currently on the roster, they are 39-2 in the playoffs.
Oh, my gosh.
The only 2 losses are to Justin Reed, and those 2 are with the Houston Texans.
1 to us.
1 to us. So that gives you an idea of just the DBs. So we'll get into more here. But, again, playoff experience, winning playoff experience, young guys with winning playoff experience in many ways is unprecedented in NFL history.
And not to belabor the perspective point, but I love talking to guys like Justin and to Drew Tranquil who have had playoff defeats, devastating playoff defeats, and you could see it in their eye how much it means to them to be a part of this, to be a part of the winning, and to be a contributor to the winning. And Justin's such a champion of that. Like, Justin knows how it feels to lose a playoff game that you led by a lot. And he knows how hard it is to get to that moment. And that's why to have a player like that leading our defense, and same thing with Drew, one of the leaders in the linebacker room, to have that experience elsewhere and to come here with that perspective and to be like, I'm a part of this, I'm going to find a way to win this game, it's just really cool. And it helps me realize that it's not like this everywhere. And I think we all need to remember that, and that these guys that come from other teams, they know that, and they are the happiest guys in the world to be a part of this winning. It's pretty cool.
I've told the Carlos Dunlap story many times. He had won 12 years and not won a playoff game, and we won that game in 22 in the divisional round, and I found him first. After we were done with Chiefs Rewind, I put a beeline to find that dude. I knew what it meant to him because we talk about that glorious game you watched in Argentina, 21 years to go without a playoff win. But here's more. So the linebackers, when you look at it, are 21-3, and 2 of those 3 were to other teams. Bolt's got the only one where he lost to Cincinnati. The other 2 are Tranquils. You got one there. And then Joshua Uche lost one with New England to Buffalo.
To the Bills, yeah.
Yeah. And then on the defensive line, they're 76-19, but that includes Chris Jones, who's 14-5. And some of those, he's been with us now, going way back to 2016. So the 16-17 loss he had and the 18 loss at New England that we talked about. But now we're going to transition. All the experience. That's the first part of E squared equals question mark as we try to solve the unknown variable next week in trying to win the divisional playoff game. And you can open the door to this because of what this means to players who have been in the league a while. And it's the Carlos Dunlap feeling. And again, personally, I felt the same thing waiting 21 years for a playoff win. Consider DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins will go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This is his 13th season in the NFL. He has 2 playoff wins, both in the wild card round. Let's start there. DeAndre Hopkins has never won in the divisional playoff round. Never. His last playoff game was in 2019, DeAndre Hopkins, and he lost, the same one we referred to Justin Reed, 51-31 to the Kansas City Chiefs after leading that game 24-7. I'm going to tell you, there's no one more excited, probably, than DeAndre Hopkins to win this game next week.
One thing that's stood out to me about Patrick Mahomes over the years and how it relates to DeAndre, it might be easy to look at it from the outside and to say, all right, Mahomes has won 15 playoff games. He's won 3 Super Bowls. He's accomplished everything there is to accomplish as an NFL quarterback. Would he get complacent? And what's so interesting about Patrick is if you listen to him talk about this subject, when he talks about it, he doesn't talk about himself. He talks about his teammates. And while, yes, the core of the Chiefs has been around for all this playoff success, this particular team, this team of 53 guys and the practice squad, will never be completely together ever again.
Nope.
It's that case for every single year that, yeah, the names, the big names, the playmakers, maybe those guys are all together again, but the entire team changes every single year. And for a guy like Mahomes who's in the locker room with these guys every single day, you spend more time with your teammates than you do with your family, you don't get complacent because you want to win it for the guys that haven't won it yet. You want to win it for the guys that might not be part of this team next year. And it has really struck me when he said this a couple years ago for the first time, and he's kind of reiterated it over the years, that he wants to be able to look back at his career and be like, every single year I gave my absolute best for the guys around me. And for Patrick, he's going to give his absolute best, for himself and for his legacy and for the Chiefs, of course, but also for DeAndre Hopkins and for Charles Omenihu and for guys that maybe haven't won a lot in their careers, have been really good players, but haven't been on the field to win a Super Bowl. And Charles, of course, had the torn ACL last year, couldn't go and win the Super Bowl on the field. So that's always struck me about Patrick, his dedication, his commitment to his teammates, and wanting to be the best that he is for his teammates that maybe have been really successful but haven't reached the mountaintop. That's cool. That you can't teach that. Like, that's just who he is, and we have that in our locker room. Kelsey's the same way. And I think that's a big reason why this team's been so successful over the years and been able to sustain it. It's because they want to do it for each other.
It's cool you bring up Omenihu. It reminds me of the Juan Thornhill story. Now Juan's with the Cleveland Browns, but tore his ACL at the end of the regular season in the run to Super Bowl 54, the 2019 season. I remember after that game, we're all in a euphoric state, and he's over in his locker. He's happy for everybody, but he knows he wasn't part of it. Omenihu, and he was.
He was.
But Omenihu, who played so good in the playoffs last year, fueled by that Week 18 win over the Chargers, does the same thing. Wrecks his knee, cannot play in Super Bowl 58. He is hungry to do this, get it done, and be a part of being a champion, a set-apart champion. We'll close out this way. There's two other guys that come to mind in this discussion about energy, because you can imagine DeAndre Hopkins, who plays so great, so effective, he's changed our season, will go in with some extra energy to this divisional playoff round. Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt was here in 17 and steamrolling in 18, and then had the incident where he was dismissed from the team, but now he's back. He's getting a chance that less than 2% of players in the NFL would get a shot. He missed on all the fun of Super Bowl 54, 57, and 58. He didn't lament about it. He told me personally that he was rejoicing for everyone. But now Kareem gets a shot. He's won one playoff game, a wild card game. Kareem Hunt has never won in the divisional playoff round. He lost to us in the 22-17 game in the 2022 season, the Chad Henne game. But the point is here that Kareem Hunt will be excited and have energy for this game. And then finally, Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown has one playoff win. He has never won in the divisional playoff round. That was a wild card win in 2021. Those three guys in specific, throw in DJ Humphries, who's only played one playoff game and lost. None of those guys have won in the divisional playoff round. They are the second part of the experience plus energy. The E squared equals the unknown variable. But I'm excited for those guys. And if the Chiefs win the game next week, whomever they play, I will find those guys first because I know what it's going to mean to them.
And he's not just saying that. I remember when he told me that before the 22 divisional round game against the Jags. You're like, I'm going to find Carlos Dunlap. I'm going to find him. And you did.
Yep.
You did. And that was really cool to see. All three of those
and
guys.
There were tears. And Los goes, we're not done. I go, no, we're not.
And we weren't.
But you never forget this moment, Los. You never forget it. It's a wild card game that the Kingdom has forgot about in 30-0, and you're watching in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I'll never forget it. How cool that was.
For Carlos, I remember him before the season at training camp saying that he had 3 goals. He came to Kansas City for 3 reasons. Wanted to get to his 100th career sack.
Got it.
Did that. Win a playoff game. Yeah. Did that. And win the Super Bowl. Yeah. Did that. It's like, oh, yeah, just do those things. Pretty cool. The bingo word today is perspective. I'm going to say perspective again for those 3 players that you just mentioned in Hunt, Hollywood, and Humphries, because all 3 of those guys had a lot of success and were really good and then had it taken away from them. So Kareem's situation you outlined, we all know about that. Hollywood figured to be a big part of this offense this year, and then first snap of the preseason, it's taken away. Real doubt if he's going to be able to play for the Chiefs at all this season. He works like crazy through his rehab, makes it back, and plays. And, I mean, we're super excited about Hollywood. I think he changes the whole offense. But he knows what it's like to have that taken away from him. And same for Humphries. Humphries playing at a very high level throughout his career, tears his ACL. It's taken away from him. Mm-hmm. Well, those 3 guys know what it's like to have a lot of success. Then all of a sudden, it's taken away. And they're not going to waste this opportunity. They're all healthy. They're all ready to go. They're hungry for this moment because they know how hard it is to get to this point and that it can be taken away at any moment, and they're not going to waste it. And that's why this team, for so many reasons, is geared up for hopefully a championship run, but it's full of players like that that maybe they weren't around for the first 3 Super Bowls. They're getting their Super Bowl this year. That's their mentality. And that's why this team is so special, one of the many reasons.
There's a jillion gigs of data, of names that didn't get that second chance.
Yeah.
And these guys got it. So we try to solve the equation, but we'll go in knowing E squared. Experience, unusual experience, plus energy equals, we'll see if we can solve the variable.